Welcome to Episode 5 of Chiptune Tech. My name is Anthony Hom. Chiptune Tech is created to disseminate information regarding the tech side of the house when it comes to chiptune hardware, mods, accessories, and all of the amazing innovations that people are doing to bring a brighter future to chiptune music. OhmNohmNohm is a collective of musicians, artists, tech heads, and writers with a passion for chiptune music, retro gaming, and old computers. We aim to share information and our passion to all of you. If you are interested in submitting audio, video, or articles to OhmNohmNohm, please send us an email at mikey@ohmnohmnohm.com. In this episode, I will be talking about how to get LSDj and my recommendations on how to get started using LSDj. LSDj, short for Little Sound DJ, is a music tracking program for the Nintendo Game Boy. It was developed by Johan Kalinske and was released in the year 2000. It utilizes the Game Boy's 4 sound channels and separates them into individual audio tracks. With LSDj, you get 2 pulse channels, one with sweep functionality, a wave channel, and a white noise channel. It has been a staple of the chiptune scene since its release. To purchase LSDj, you must go to the LSDj website, littlesounddj.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on the donate button. The price is 1 cent US. $5 is the recommended donation amount, but you can have it for 1 cent if you'd like. It's been a while since I purchased LSDj, but if memory serves me correctly, you should receive an email with a username and password to access the LSDj directory and be able to download the LSDj ROMs, manuals, and associated program tools. The directory has previous versions of LSDj available for download. With the ROM, you are free to use it in an emulator or transfer the ROM to one of many Game Boy Flash cartridges. Some of the carts that are currently available as of December 3rd, 2017 that work with LSDj are the El Cheapo SD flash carts by Benven, EMS USB 64M smart cards, and the Dragon Dirt flash carts. Websites such as Kitchbent and Non-Finite Electronics have services to put LSDj onto a flash cart, provided you show proof of purchase of LSDj. You may also be able to find older flash carts such as the EMS 32M smart cards, ASM Retro Fighter carts, Smart Boy carts, Bleep Loop, and Bleep Loop USB flash carts for sale from other chiptune artists. For people who are new to LSDj or music tracking programs, I highly recommend starting out using an emulator to run LSDj. An emulator is hardware or software that replicates the running environments of other operating systems and software on a host system. A Game Boy emulator emulates the running environment of a Game Boy, allowing you to play Game Boy game ROM files on your computer or similar devices. I recommend this for a number of reasons. First is cost. Emulators for gaming systems are generally free to download and are packed full of features and options. The full version of LSDj will only cost you a minimum of 1 cent. Before dropping cash on Game Boys, mods, and other related electronics, you can have LSDj running on your computer ready to go for only a cent. If you decide it's not for you, you're only out a penny. Side note, I really hope you give Johan more than that if you get LSDj. The second reason I recommend using an emulator is screen real estate. The DMG-01 Game Boy's display is only 2.6 inches, while on the low end of the scale, netbook computer screens start at around 10 inches. Using netbooks, laptops, and desktops with HDMI out, that figure jumps up to widescreen TV territory. I'm not getting any younger, and my eyesight isn't what it used to be. Composing music on a laptop screen or big screen TV is definitely easier on the eyes. The third reason for recommending the use of an emulator is for easier file access and organization. There are programs associated with LSDj that allow you to import and export individual songs from your LSDj save files. There are programs that allow you to add custom audio samples to your LSDj ROM. If you are planning to make audio sample kits for LSDj or plan on testing various audio samples in LSDj, you will be spending a bit of time editing and organizing files. using an emulator takes the extra steps of transferring ROMs and save files back and forth to a flash cart for a Game Boy out of the equation. My fourth reason for recommending the use of an emulator when starting out is that it's a much more stable format than a flash cart. There are flash carts for the Game Boy that use a battery to back up saved data. You won't have to worry about losing your songs on your save file if the battery is fresh or if you have a way of transferring the data back and forth between your flash cart and your computer and you back up your save files on a regular basis. This will become an issue if you do not have a way of backing up your flash cart. There are older Game Boy flash carts that did not come with a mini or micro USB port. These carts required a cartridge programmer, which you needed to have purchased separately or made DIY style to save your files to your computer. Archaic cartridge programmers interface with IBM computers through a parallel port. Newer cartridge programmers that are designed based off the work of two Polish IT students will utilize a USB interface. If you are using an older flash cart that was not designed with a USB port and no access to a cartridge programmer suitable for your computer setup, you will not be able to back up the data onto your computer. Most of the flash cartridges that were not designed with a USB port had battery backup, and if that battery dies, your save file and your songs go with it. I'm not saying that starting out using a Game Boy is a bad thing or something that I don't want for you to do, but LSDj has a definite learning curve for people who are not familiar with music tracking programs. I started out using LSDj back in 2011 with a DMG01 and an EMS USB 64M smart card and obsessing over making sure that I Pro Sound modded the Game Boy to make it sound the best. Looking back at my beginnings, I can tell you that it would have been much easier if I started out using an emulator. Emulators have a great deal of functionality and are a great way of trying LSDj out before deciding to further invest money into more gear. If you already have a Game Boy and want to throw down for a flash cart, by all means, go for it. An emulator I highly recommend using is BGB. It is considered the most accurate Game Boy emulator available for Windows. It features high quality audio rendering and you are able to make WAV audio files from your songs in BGB. If you are a Mac or Linux user, I suggest using the emulation program Wine, which stands for Windows is not an emulator, to emulate BGB on those systems. For my personal emulator setup, I use BGB version 1.5.2 running on Windows 7 on a Lenovo ThinkPad X120E. I use an NES controller with a Retrobit NES to USB adapter cable to navigate in LSDj in BGB. However, any USB gamepad with a directional pad and at least 4 buttons to map the Select, Start, B, and A buttons should work fine as well. All relevant links about topics I talked about in this episode will be listed in the annotations of this episode on OhmNohmNohm.com. They will also be listed in the YouTube description of this video. A reminder to everyone, as long as my visa application goes through, I will be flying out from Taiwan and will be attending Square Sounds Melbourne 2017 in Australia, March 3rd through March 5th. Danimal Cannon, Spacetown, Zen Albatross, 2MG, Jamitar, Heavy Viper, Raymanta, and Zero F Digital will be playing the show, with visuals provided by Busty Coastline and Cat Full of Ghost Electronics. If you are attending, come out and say hi. We can drink adult beverages, jam out to chiptune music, and talk about chiptune stuff. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, we'd love to hear from you, the listener. Please send us an email at mikey@ohmnohmnohm.com about what you think, what you are thinking about, what your favorite color is, or what you want to hear about from us in the future. That's it for me. For this episode of Chiptune Tech, thank you all for listening, and again, happy modding.